Cue the rolling cameras and unexpected laughs. Welcome to Past Paradise. Some of the most iconic movie scenes weren't even in the script. Sometimes a slip-up, a flub, or an actor's spontaneous reaction is so perfectly timed that directors decide to leave it in. These happy accidents blur the lines between acting and reality, creating moments so seamless you'd never guess they were mistakes. From unscripted lines that became legendary quotes to on-set bloopers that added just the right charm, these surprises often outshine the meticulously planned scenes. Stick around as we dive into cringe-worthy bloopers and unexpected mishaps that turned into cinematic gold. Can't keep a straight face. As soon as the director gets mad at the players, you almost certainly will have to do the scene again. Things didn't go as planned in the famous scene from The Usual Suspects, where all the characters were lined up. The director wanted the scene to be serious, but one of the players couldn't keep a straight face because they had to go to the bathroom. The director must not have been too upset because there was no repeat. The cat from The Godfather. Saying that The Godfather is a famous movie is like saying that Michael Jordan is a well-known player. One of the most famous scenes in the movie turned out a little differently than planned, which makes it even better. When Don Vito Corleone gives his harsh orders, he does so while petting a cat. The cat appeared on set out of the blue and sat on the actor's lap. The cat was not supposed to be in that take, but it made it even more memorable. People call me Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump was one of those movie characters who could get away with almost anything. It's not a wonder that Tom Hanks strayed a bit in one scene. He did say what he did by chance. So when he says, "Hi, my name is Forrest Gump. Some people call me Forrest Gump," that last part wasn't meant to be said. Still, it fits his character so well that he said it the next time. Come back, flag. Have you seen the flag flying far away? It looks like the flag was meant to stay on the pole. Eowyn was looking off into the distance, and the flag being ripped off the pole seemed to go well with the whole scene. There's no reason they couldn't do a second take of the scene. However, the director probably made the right choice by leaving the flag flying in the background. Dropping the orb. It's not that important in the big picture that some scenes that didn't mean to happen the way they did ended up in the final cut. During Guardians of the Galaxy, Chris Pratt dropped a ball. The ball should have stayed in place because he picked it up while still in character, even though he wasn't meant to drop it. That could have been a case of the director not wanting to reshoot the scene. Shattering a window. In the scene from Blade Runner, the actress Daryl Hannah slips and breaks the window in the van while running away in a panic. Not at all. That wasn't supposed to happen and was just a freak mistake. She had to go to the hospital after the slip because it was so bad. I found out that she broke her arm in the crash. The take, however, made it into the final film. It worked out well. Robert Downey Jr. eating snacks. This is just plain funny. Robert Downey Jr. kept taking snacks behind the scenes, and the director of The Avengers couldn't figure out why. In other words, the scenes where he eats something were probably not planned. This is even better when you think about how naturally he plays Tony Stark. Robert Downey Jr. loved playing that part. Dustin Hoffman passing the gas. Celebrities and other popular people are people too. Sometimes people forget that. In the end, they're not that different from us. In the movie Rain Man, Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise were in a scene where Dustin Hoffman had to go to the bathroom. The players didn't make a big deal out of it, though. They kept going with the take and made it all seem normal. But it would have been so simple for them to laugh out loud. Knowing your role. A lot of artists get into the roles they play, but when it came to R. Lee Ermey in Full Metal Jacket, he was the part. He taught drills at Parris Island Marine Corps Base, and even though he started as a technical assistant, his job would change a lot. In the end, he got a part in the movie and made up all the training scenes on the spot. What a great way to make things easier for writers and directors. Taking an accidental fall. Falls by chance will never be a big deal for someone who plays an awkward character. One good thing about that kind of part is that you can keep the falls in the movie. In any case, this happened while The Princess Diaries was being filmed. It was the scene where one of the girls falls off the stairs while the other girl is walking on them. Yes, you got it. That fall was a mistake. but it cut anyway. Breaking the coffee table. Objective responses are what make good performers great. To act well, you have to do that. We talk about this because scenes that seem accurate can make movies so much better, and sometimes they are. This is what happened in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Do you remember how Nick the Greek broke the coffee table? Everything that happened was a mistake. The actor's face showed how he felt about it. That made for a striking scene the director probably knew had to be there. Immersing into the role. Al Pacino is considered one of the best actors ever because he takes every part he plays very seriously. He wouldn't let his eyes focus on anything while practicing for his part in Scent of a Woman, so he would feel more like he was blind. Because of this, he had trouble seeing in some scenes and fell over a trash can by mistake. We now value Al Pacino even more than before. Dwayne turning into The Rock. You can see the famous line Dwayne Johnson said in Fast and Furious 6 at the bottom of this page. The character Hobbs wasn't meant to say anything, so he had to come up with the comeback on his own. We believe that Dwayne turned back into his old self and became The Rock for that one time. If you followed his success as a wrestler, that's precisely what he would have said to someone else. Hissing out of the blue. Over the years, Anthony Hopkins' role in The Silence of the Lambs has received a lot of praise. Learning what he did will likely make many fans appreciate the show even more. He makes a strange and creepy hissing sound while telling an FBI agent about his crimes. The great actor made that on the spot, making his character even scarier and crazier. Sometimes it's the little things. Repeating the same line. You only see ones like this sometimes. Sometimes even the best actors forget their lines, but you rarely see them. Just go ahead and repeat the same line after having just said it. But why male models is something that Ben Stiller's character says more than once in Zoolander. Because of his role in the movie, it seemed normal and planned. Still, Ben Stiller needed to remember his line in that scene. Banging the chest. Leonardo DiCaprio deserves a lot of thanks for this. Really, Matthew McConaughey's character was hitting his chest in a scene filmed for The Wolf of Wall Street. It turned out that the actor did that to calm down before every take. Leonardo DiCaprio told him to do that during the scene, which worked well for the situation. Helping each other out between actors always makes movies and scenes better. The Fly is getting some screen time. You can't plan for some things when you're shooting. Things can change quickly when we discuss what's about to be discussed, so everyone has to be ready for that. At some point in Raiders of the Lost Ark, a fly out of the blue appeared on Belloc's face. The special effects team didn't change the scene. Instead, they removed the fly's flight. For everyone who watched, it led to something hard to miss. Picking up the gurney. We're only going to say this. If you show up on more than one of these lists, you know you're a great actor. That's how things are with Tom Hanks, even though everyone knows he's great. Even though he made it up on the spot while shooting The Burbs, it's still pretty cool that it happened. Tom Hanks did the scene where his character immediately picks up a gurney and throws it into the ambulance. A lot of respect right there. The sheer dedication to the scene. Leonardo DiCaprio went through a lot during the scene in Django Unchained. If any other actor had been in that situation, they would have probably called cut. Because of what happened, Leonardo hurt himself while shooting. But he went ahead and acted out the scene anyway, even though he was bleeding pretty severely. The blood in the scene was real, showing Leonardo's dedication to his work. He was one of the best of his time. I'm walking here. The famous line, "I'm walking here," has probably been used in movies a lot. It's funny that one of the first times it was used, in Midnight Cowboy, it wasn't even in the script. Dustin Hoffman, who said the line, says that a cab driver ran a red light and went right through the set while shooting a scene in New York City for the movie. Many people think the event could have been more natural, but who knows? I Know You Love Me. A lot of the time, the best artists understand the roles they play. The directors and writers are the ones who create the roles, but the players do get some say. There's no doubt that Harrison Ford is one of those stars. When Han Solo hears Princess Leia say she loves him in Star Wars Episode V, The Empire Strikes Back, he should say, "I love you too." But Harrison Ford thought it would be better for Han Solo to say, "I know." Real action during Mission Impossible 2. Everyone knows that the action in movies is fake. Well, it turns out that stunt actors are called for that reason. They risk getting hurt. A stuntman on the Mission Impossible 2 set told Tom Cruise not to back off from the last kick. He didn't do what he was asked, and the kick hit the stuntman right in the jaw. Because John Woo thought the shot was so good, he used the whole thing, and we don't blame him. Scary things about roller coasters. Either you love roller coasters or you don't like them at all. In the clip at the beginning of Knocked Up, it was clear that one of the stars, Jay Baruchel, was not enjoying the roller coaster ride. What's crazy is that the actor decided to be in the movie during a scene without any clothes on to get off the ride. It turned out that he had to do both because everyone pushed him to go on the ride. He got the short end of that stick. Hanging up the hammer. Someone who has seen many movies with the Avengers knows that there is a lot of joking around, which also occurs behind the scenes. One great movie that does this is Thor: The Dark World. Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor, was joking when he tried to hang his hammer on a coat rack. In the end, though, it was so good that the director included it in the movie. Sylvester Stallone's Unplanned Brilliance. Sometimes cinematic magic happens by accident, and that's precisely what occurred during a running scene in Rocky Balboa. As Sylvester Stallone jogged through the streets of Philadelphia, an unexpected misstep created a raw, authentic moment that resonated deeply with the film's gritty tone. Instead of calling for a retake, the directors embraced the unintentional stumble, recognizing it as a perfect reflection of Rocky's relentless determination. This unplanned detail became an iconic part of the scene, proving that even mistakes can turn into gold when they embody the spirit of a character. Too small of a home. When mistakes are made and shown in movies, they're most funny when you wouldn't have known they were mistakes. Do you remember the part of The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, where Gandalf has trouble getting around his small house? He did hit the doorframe by mistake when he slammed into it. A shout from Ian McKellen made the whole scene seem even more accurate, and it wasn't taken out of the final movie. Crashing onto a pillar. In the second movie in the series, Biff's gang is chasing Marty on hoverboards in 2015. Fans of the series will remember that crazy scene. They then crash through the building window. What happened was that one of the three stuntmen took a nasty fall. It was a stunt woman who hit a wall and fell 30 feet below. Thank goodness she lived. You can't see the impact in the movie, but you can still see her fall. A lion and a tuna. Terry telling Alan that he would eat Alan if he were, say, a lion, and Alan was a tuna, is one of the strangest parts of The Other Guys. The second person wasn't meant to answer, but Will Ferrell made up a statement to show why a swimming lion would be an extraordinary idea. You can see his whole answer in the picture. That was more than an improvised scene, so props to Will Ferrell. Rocky running with regulars. One of the most loved and well-known movies of all time is Rocky, but they didn't have much money to work with when they were shooting, so they had to skip some steps in some places. In one, people were filmed in the background while Rocky was running. Most people in the background didn't know they were being filmed. At the very least, it made their responses more accurate. Even the guy who threw an orange at Rocky, and he caught it. The Joker clapping. We miss Heath Ledger from The Dark Knight. We don't want to brag about him, even though he deserves it. Instead, we want to let you know that he improvised the scene in which he appears in jail. When Jim Gordon is promoted right before the Joker claps mockingly. It was so true to the character, and the best part is that clap wasn't even in the script. Wow, that's what you call great acting. Feeling a little ill. Some people admire Harrison Ford, and this is another reason why. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, a fight was meant to be a dangerous duel. Harrison Ford, on the other hand, had food sickness, but still went to the shooting. At the last minute, the director called a stop and turned a tense fight into one of the most famous scenes in movie history. That's good when you look at the cards on the table. Warming up before filming. There are many ways for actors to prepare for a scene. Some enjoy getting into their roles. The scene from Dirty Dancing, in which Baby and Johnny are crawling toward each other, is just the two players getting to know each other. The director included the event in the movie because it seemed normal and good. Who would have thought that it was just the two stars getting ready? We have a problem in Houston. Let's talk about an actor who needs more credit. Matthew Lillard is one of the worst examples of this. We meant to honor that person because he has been great for a long time. He chose to add his touch to one of the last scenes of Scream. He finally realizes they don't have the necessary tools and says, Houston, we have a problem. You got it. That line was never in the script. Putting the plate somewhere else. Sometimes it's the little things that matter the most. Adding something small can make a scene so much more powerful. American Beauty is a great movie that shows this. It was never meant to happen that Lester Burnham threw the plate at the wall with all his might. He was going to throw the plate at the floor instead. It was even more powerful when they did it forcefully at the wall. Kevin Spacey thought that it was the best way to do it, which was very smart. The on-the-spot director. People who act in movies often create improvised scenes, but the director wrote this one. The movie's director, James Cameron, chose to have Leo say, "I am the king of the world," on the Titanic set. Many takes with different lines had been done, and he noticed something that needed to be fixed. That line was the right choice because it was the movie's most remembered part. The waxing is real. This is taking things to a whole new level. I think you'll never be able to watch the 40-year-old virgin the same way again. In the scene where Steve Carell gets some of his chest hair waxed, it's all real. That's right, the actor thought it would look more real and natural if the waxing were absolute. Even though it turned out to be accurate, the star later said he would never do that again for a movie. Trying to find the disappearing girl. Many people say that Jim Carrey's work in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is some of the best of his long career. Still, a moment in the movie felt true to life. During that scene, Kate Winslet's character goes away. No one told Jim Carrey that the figure would be gone for some reason, so it makes sense that he would look for her in complete shock. This is a good way to get a character to say something more naturally. Still, this one seems strange. Acting on the fly. This event occurs in one of the more recent movies on this list. Before the end of 1917, the movie, George McKay did some acting on the spot. He was never supposed to take any hits while he was running at the end of the movie. After saying that, the star said he had taken many hits while playing the part. But since the director didn't stop filming, he kept going. It was just like usual for him, but a great moment. Emerging from the ocean. Daniel Craig and Casino Royale fans might be interested to know that a famous moment wasn't even meant to happen. Of course, this refers to the part of Casino Royale where Daniel Craig's character emerges from the water. The star said there were two reasons why things turned out that way. One, he couldn't swim because the water was too shallow. Second, he thought it silly to look cool while swimming. He then got up and left. The scene in Annie Hall. We've said it before, but it needs to be repeated. The bloopers that get cut into movies but could have been left out are always the best. Indeed, this was the case in one scene from Annie Hall. Fans of the film will remember the time when someone at a party offered Alvy Singer drugs. It was played by Woody Allen, who sneezed into them, making a big cloud of smoke. The scene wasn't meant to be there, but it made it into the final cut. The brilliance of Robin Williams. Robin Williams became famous in Hollywood, and he was liked by a lot of people, both fans and other actors. One time he strayed a little from the plan was during Mrs. Doubtfire. Something didn't go as planned in the scene with the icing on his face. The heat from the lights on the set made the icing melt a bit, and some of it got into the tea. After that, Robin made the famous line, "There you go, you've got your cream and sugar now." This is why you don't stop acting until you hear cut. We can see why actors shouldn't stop acting until they hear cut. All these mistakes that made it into the final cut show us why. These are gold. One example is the sitcom Scrooged, which came out in 1988. After the character played by Bill Murray throws water on the waiter walks out of the restaurant but trips and falls to the floor. He gets up and keeps going as he should, but the actor who plays the waiter turns around momentarily as if he wants to know if they will do the scene again. That's going to leave a mark. Many people know that stormtroopers can't shoot, but we just found out that they're also really awkward, at least in this mistake in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, makes the scene funny to watch. Laurie Good, who played a stormtrooper going into a control room, hit his head while filming the scene, but thought he wasn't in the picture. But when he saw the movie in the theater, he thought, OMG, that's me. Billy Crystal just doing his thing. We love hearing about famous lines from movies that the players made up on the spot. But what about whole scenes? It might only work for some movies, but you could have magic if you put the right star in the show. What Billy Crystal did in The Princess Bride is said to have been made up on the spot because director Rob Reiner let him speak Yiddish and do his own thing. Great.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon